Okay, so hello everybody. You may have seen me before, you may not have done, but for those who aren't familiar with who I am the thebpg13, also known as Viper. Welcome to Porsche Challenge for the PS1. I'll let the demo quickly run in the background whilst I'm just talking away, but yeah, this is basically, there's three parts to this run. There's a short section, a long section, and an interactive section, and the interactive is where the game changer is. But to put it bluntly, this game is fairly straightforward. There's a lot of circuit racing and stuff like that. The cars in the game, there's only one particular model of car that you can choose, which is the Porsche Boxster. Why it's called Porsche Challenge when it should really just be called Porsche Boxster Challenge, but I digress. So there's several characters that we can choose from. It doesn't really matter which one you pick, so I'm going to pick my personal favourite. So we're doing the championship mode. I'm going to pick either, let's see. I'm going to pick Marco for this one. I'll be using manual gears, and time is going to be when I click the let's go. So if we're ready on time, I'll give you a countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so the 4 tracks that you do in this game are Stuttgart, USA, Japan, and Alpine, and the tracks are set in various locations. So for example, Stuttgart is based in Germany. This is supposedly Porsche's test track. You've got the USA, which is supposedly based off like Miami, so Miami Beach, that sort of thing. Japan is supposedly based off like Shibuya, I think it is, in Japan. And the Alpine track is based off the Swiss Alps, roughly. Now, I'm not saying they are based off them completely. It's just kind of like a rough basis. So there is actually 3 versions of this game. I say 3 versions. This was released for each of the 3 regions, for North America, for Europe, so the PAL version, and for the Japanese market as well. In the North American and European release, the game's obviously run at the typical 5 frames per second difference. So this is actually being ran on a North American PS2. This is the North American version of the game. There isn't really too much in terms of region difference, other than you can obviously, on the European version, you can play in kilometers, and the States it plays as miles per hour, supposedly. So there's 2 different unique handling models as well for this. So you have the arcade handling mode and you have the simulation handling mode. The handling models themselves are slightly varied. So the arcade is very basic in terms of handling, so it makes it very easy. And this is recommended for beginner players, which is the one I'm using. There's a simulation model, which in my personal opinion, the simulation handling / physics model, it handles only slightly differently. Like, you can't really tell the difference, apart from the car might be slightly more difficult to turn into corners. As I say that, we're just coming up to the end of Stuttgart, and the one thing that we're going to be doing during this run as well, apart from trying to drive as clean as possible and get past the AI, is we're going to press start upon getting to the end of the race, like that. So what that essentially allows us to do is that allows us to skip the end part of the race. So at the end of the race for this game, it shows you like your statistics of like, right, okay, this was your total time, this was your laps, and so on. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's quite a straightforward game, to be honest. It was made by Sony Computer I think it's Entertainment something or other, or Sony Computer Europe Entertainment if you play the European release, and I think it was the Sony Computer Entertainment America for North America. I'm not sure. I think it is something like that, or SCEE if you play the European version. And SCEA if you play the North American version. The Japanese release pretty much follows the same as North America, so if you see for some weird reason you go, oh, okay, so North America and Japan are a bit similar, that's because they are. I should also mention as well the 6 characters. There's a bonus character which we'll get into afterwards, but the 6 characters that you can play as are Dan, Marco, Beats, Nikita, Rachel, and Takabo. Each character drives their own unique coloured Boxster. So Marco drives a blue one, Dan drives a silver one, Rachel drives a purple one, Nikita drives a yellow one. Who's the other ones? Beats drives like a aqua green coloured one, and Takabo drives a red one. Now I believe even though the cars are supposed to all be about the same, exactly the same performance-wise, the cars do feel slightly different, depending on which character you play as. So, for example, I've always had an easier time playing with Dan and Beats than I have with, say, Takabo and Nikita. I don't know why this is, like the cars are the same, maybe it's just my driving that was different with those, probably was. But the cars do top out at around 150 miles an hour or 240 kilometers. If you're playing, like I said, the European version. And it's also worth noting as well, if you play on the automatic gear, so if you have the automatic gearbox, then what ends up happening is you've obviously got the automatic gearbox and you can go as fast as possible, but with automatic, because of the lack of like basically when a game gives you automatic gears, as easier as it is, because it changes up a gear sooner than you would like, you can actually lose speed. So for example, me playing on manual gears allows the car to top out at 150, and going downhill it tops out even faster. But on automatic, you actually lose about 5 miles per hour in speed for some reason. Why this is, I have absolutely no idea, but yeah, the more you know. So like I said, most of these, I think the car at the time, as a rough guess, was like 200 and something horsepower, or just under 200 horsepower for a stock one of these. These cars were readily available in the late 90s and they were very popular. And there's even a video on here as well that you can view, and you don't need to unlock this or anything like that. But there's a video which shows off like how the Boxster was designed. Yeah, like I can't remember what the guy is called who really designed it, but it shows you him like drawing the Boxster, and he was saying like how he always wanted to work for Porsche and to design like the new Boxster and stuff, because at the time, like I said, it was brand new. Nowadays it's a 20-year-old car, but yeah, this game actually came out, I say 20 years old, it's more like 25 at this point. So this game came out in 1997, and even though it was 3 years into the life cycle for the PlayStation 1, because the PlayStation 1 came out in 94, it actually was a bit more interesting, because it was more like a tech demo, if anything. It was just a 3-year-old tech demo. I will mention as well that if the music does skip like it's doing now, that's actually just because of the disc for some weird reason. It doesn't like playing the music properly. I don't know why. I can get rid of the music though, it's no problem. Sounds like it has actually got stopped, but that's fine. You can always turn that off for the next race. But yeah. If you play in the Japanese version, by the way, you'll have the typical problem of playing with the controls being back to front. So if you do, if you play, like normally when you play these games, or when you play racing games, so for example, like accept or confirm is usually X on the controller, and back is usually triangle in most games, in Europe and in America. But if you play the Japanese version, it's actually circle to confirm stuff, and X to, X is to like decline it. And supposedly the reason why this is because of when the PlayStation 1 was being designed, it was something to do with like how they designed all the buttons. So like each of the buttons on the controller actually has a unique form to it. So for example, the square button was designed in the form of a piece of paper and turned it purple, I think it is, or like a pinky colour, pink purple-ish colour. X being like a, when you decline something, you usually put like an X. I can't remember the exact reasoning behind that. Triangle to signify going back or something like that. and circle in like the shape of the sun or the planet. They all have like their own significant meanings. I can't remember all, or if I've named them all correctly, but yeah, believe it or not, the PlayStation controller in Japan, it actually has different button inputs. For anyone that hasn't played a Japanese version of a game before and finds that some button presses are weird, like for example you press circle to go forward and not X, yeah, I can understand if you get a bit confused about that, to be honest, but yeah, that's why. So yeah, the more you know. The more you know. So the like I said, the 6 characters, they all drive their own unique coloured Boxster. But the funny thing is as well is that if you read the manual for this game, the characters actually all have their preferences as to other characters they like. So for example, Dan, who's in the silver, who's in the silver Boxster, quite likes Rachel. A lot of the guys like Rachel, but like for example Nikita doesn't like Rachel, but she likes Dan and stuff like that, or something like that. So like yeah, even all the characters have, they have their own personalities, which is pretty fun. So now that we've done the short races, we're now on to the long races. So these long races are quite interesting now, because basically what it means is your lap times are significantly longer. So now instead of a lap being like 40 seconds, they're now about a minute to a minute and a half. The longest races come at Alpine and Japan. Believe it or not, so most races in this game are 3 laps in the championship. However, you will eventually get to the point where the races then become 4 laps each, and the races do drag on. So you'll find that you might get through, like for example, you get through the first 8 races in a little under half an hour, and then obviously you've got more, so you have to be very, very careful. So the long circuit has this like little chicane here. It also has a hairpin as well, which is here, as you can see. It's a bit of a tricky circuit to get right. If you do get it right though, it's very rewarding, as you might imagine. So you obviously want to make sure that you don't mess things up, and thankfully Takabo did not hit me there, so that's good of him. Very nice of him. A little over a minute for a lap, not too bad. But I feel like this probably is a good time just to mention that if you want to mention anything about the charity, feel free to go right ahead.
Well, we've had no additional donations since the interval, but if anybody who is in the chat who would like to donate, there's a link down in the panels below. We are also posting it in the channel every now and again. If you'd like to go and donate, please click on that link to the Tiltify page, and all donations through that goes directly to EveryoneCan. This weekend is actually their Game Together marathon, where a lot of the different streamers have been raising money for them. They've raised over £12,000 in total, and our total definitely contributes to that. I want us to raise over £300 if we can, so please click on that link. Captain Ibblesworth has posted it in the chat already, so if you can please click on that link, go to the page and donate if you can. Every little really does help, and if we can smash the £300 goal, that would be absolutely fantastic. And a huge thank you to everybody who's donated so far as well.
No problem, thank you very much. And thank you again to all those that are watching and contributing as well to this event. I'm sure Insta really appreciates it too. So just to mention a few things as well. So the damage model in this game, you may notice that I've hit some walls so far. And obviously it slows the car down because, well, like it wouldn't do in the real world. But you may notice as well that these cars do not get damaged, and there's a reason for that. So, for example, it's like that with a lot of games. Gran Turismo is kind of the same. You may notice that in some of the older Gran Turismos, you could smash a car into a wall at 150 miles an hour and it might flip it over or just not do any damage whatsoever. And the main reason for that being like that is because when you play a racing game normally, the car licenses often don't like seeing their own car smashed up. This is also the same in other motorsports, for example Formula 1 and things like that. You can also find that in some games that they would not let cars get smashed up, even though it happens in like the real life sport. Yeah, for the most part, it's like, right, okay, you can race our boxes in your game. We'll let you model, our car in game. That's fine. You'll render it in the game engine and so on. But a lot of them are very picky about you smashing a car up. I mean, there is some game licenses that are allowed to get away with that. For example, Need for Speed is probably one of those where cars can get battered and not destroyed completely, but can get quite badly damaged, like parts falling off the car. And usually in most games cases, they often come up with their own version of that particular car. For example, for those that haven't heard, there was a game called like Crash Day, I think it was, and the cars were all based off real life cars. There's a few others as well. Like they allow their cars to be destroyed because they're based off real ones. I mean, take for example, Grand Theft Auto. Like any of the cars in Grand Theft Auto was probably based off a similar model in real life. So for example, in Grand Theft Auto 4, just to name as an example off the top of my head, there's a muscle car in that game that is known as something Dukes. I don't know what the company is that makes the car, but it's known as like a Dukes, and it's like a Dukes of Hazzard sort of car, that sort of thing. And obviously in Grand Theft Auto you can blow cars up, you can destroy them, shoot bullet holes in them, you can do all that. And it's the same with like Grand Theft Auto 5 as well. But the reason that they can get away with it is that the cars are based off real ones, but they're not using real life car licenses. For example, they didn't go and ask like Chevrolet or Dodge or Porsche even, can we destroy your car? No, because they know for a fact they'll turn around and say no. So they do it to kind of get around the rules. So if you ever wondered why games like this one have real life cars, licensed cars, but they can't be destroyed, then you know why. Some of them, like I said, some of the Need for Speed games do allow it. Like you can smash some of the cars up, but some of them will be like, it won't be as much. I mean, I know that I played some of the newer Need for Speeds, and yeah, you can smash the cars up, but you can't completely destroy them. For example, you might have like a bumper hanging off, and they'll throw like shatters of glass, but it hasn't really destroyed the car. Like the wheels don't come off, they keep the wheels attached, so you can smash the car up, but you can't really do anything. So yeah, there you go. The more you know. So that's the end of USA done. I should mention as well that USA is actually quite a nice track to drive as a whole. The interactive track is quite interesting because the interactive track's like, oh yeah, so here's here's like a circuit that you thought you knew and you knew what was what, and they just mix it up every race. So we'll get to the interactive one. I did mention before about a 7th driver. So the 7th driver, who will appear later in the run, is what I would refer to as Black Stig. So to put this bluntly, when Top Gear in the UK first started, for those that are a bit wondering what the reason is behind that, is when Top Gear first started in the early 2000s, the Stig actually wore a black suit, not a white suit like he's known for wearing. Because if anyone's watched Top Gear, they may know that Stig always wears a white suit. But he never used to be like that in the early seasons of Top Gear. And it's the same in this game. I refer to him as Black Stig, but what he actually is he is known as, in-game, as Test Driver. Now, this game, like a lot of games that released in the 90s, and a lot of games that released on PS1 and on PS2 and so on, unlike nowadays, had, cheat codes for doing stuff in games. You remember cheat codes, right? You used to get them books with game magazines and stuff, and they tell you cheats to, like, remove felony in Grand Theft Auto, or spawn a car, or get a weapon set, or something like that. That sort of thing. Well, in this game, you're able to spawn the test driver, and to kind of put it blunt, you can spawn him via cheat codes, but you can't ever unlock him properly. One thing that is quite interesting, I don't believe you can, but yeah, you can spawn the test drive and everything, And what's even more cooler than that is that unlike the other cars in the game, so unlike the standard 6 characters you can play as in this game, when you unlock the test drive, you can actually unlock an option to tune them. So, for example, you can modify it and tweak it so significantly that you could obviously make it insane. Like, you could make it go a lot faster, give it really good top speed and stuff like that. I've actually done a run before with the test drive and found it to be about a minute faster, and that was without really doing anything, because believe it or not, the test driver has pretty decent handling stock anyway, and his top speed is quite good as well, so yeah, the more you know. Also, you may have noticed on this Alpine track that what's happened is on this Alpine track we've actually had 4 laps instead of 3. So this race and the Japan race, which is obviously swapped from the first time it was run, has also got 4 laps as well. So the races are going to start getting a bit longer. And I'll quickly explain interactive track, since we're going to be there in like 5 or so minutes anyway, so after the next race in Japan. So for those that don't know what the interactive races are, so far we have done 4 short races, and we're currently doing the 4 long variations of the track. Now, the tracks do not change whatsoever. The tracks stay exactly the same for all of the laps in that race. In interactive, what happens is certain parts of the track are opened up and closed again. For example, in the USA, on the short version of the track, we were able to use that bridge at the end of the lap, and on the long version, the bridge was closed. In the interactive, on 2 or 3 of the laps you could have the bridge shut, and only on 1 of the laps you could have the bridge open. So it provides, in my opinion, a bit of it's basically the RNG of the run. The racing is what matters, your driving is obviously what matters, but you obviously want to make sure that you're taking every shortcut and keeping your eyes peeled on the track as much as possible, just to be on the safe side. So there you go, you never know. But if anyone has any questions regarding the game, feel free to go right ahead and ask, don't mind. Also, the handling can take a bit to get used to as well. I will mention that part. The music's not too bad in this game. It's a bit of like funk and stuff like this. Is this like the better Test Drive 5? I mean, I've played a little bit of Test Drive 5 before. I'd probably say yes. That's probably a bad move, but yes, I'd say so. There we go. So we've got Japan. Now, like I said, this is the long circuit. Just to kind of keep with it as well, is just going to quickly turn the music off. Only because of the fact that the music does tend to skip for some weird reason in this one more than any other. I don't know why, but it tends to skip a lot more rather than in the other ones. So just to avoid you hearing looping music and music getting stuck like old video games used to do, I'll turn that off. Saves you having to hear it going and constantly repeat. But yeah, I believe the cars around when these cars came out had around 200 horsepower or so, something like that. But yeah, also got blocked by him then, not good. So there is 2 shortcuts on this particular track. So for example, there is the barrier that's come down there, which you've just seen. That barrier is a big problem, because unfortunately when you get to it, you either don't know whether you're going to hit it or not. The bridge as well, this is something I was mentioning. So the bridge is a lot more fascinating to watch, that's for sure. Like I said, everything just changes about it. It's just absolutely mad. Also, the music is trying to get itself back into the run somehow. This is the weird thing as well. Even though I turn the music off, the game's like, I'll still try and play some of the music. It's very strange. Very odd. There is something that you may have noticed during this run. I may not have noticed. So, if you look behind me, Dan, who is our rival, so each time you play as a character, you have a rival. Marco has Dan, and Dan has Marco as his rival. Rachel and Nikita are rivals. I believe Takabo and Beats are also rivals as well, from what I've heard. So, yeah, who knows, really? It's like I said, it's one of those things. But the AI is essentially it's just rubber banding hard. It's completely bonkers, to be honest. Yeah, games like, yeah, I can probably agree with that one. So even when you have the music off, it's still like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna try and just turn back on by itself. It's really strange. It's a weird thing because you wouldn't think, you wouldn't think it does, but it tries. It does try. But yeah, like I said, 1997 doesn't look too bad for a PS1 game. And I will mention as well, if you're wondering, hang on a minute, this is a PS1 game, why is it being played in 16:9? Well, that's because, like I said, it's being played on a PS2, and the PS2 widens it to 16:9 for me. I put it as 16:9 just to see what would happen, but yeah, it's pretty mad, pretty mad. It's a shame, really, because I think the music, like I said, the music's got a bit of funk and stuff like that. A bit electrical and things like that. It's just a shame it doesn't actually say that. Quality's ranging from 480i to 1260p. Yeah, exactly. You have like 4K resolution and stuff like that these days with racing games, don't you? Nearly done with the last lap. Like I said, this is just the long part of the race is done. So we've got, after this, that is literally it. There's nothing more left after this one. I need to mention, I need to make sure that I don't drive like that, otherwise I'm in trouble. There we go. Ooh, there we go. So that is the long ones done. So now we've got the last 4 races are pretty much, the last 4 races are now the interactive ones. Now luckily with the interactive ones, it's not too bad because we only have like, I think maybe, what is it, like 4 minutes or something to do these. Well, this race is about 4 minutes, but it's 4 laps, and to put it blunt, it's like, the way I can name it is there's a short section, like the first section, so this bit here is section 1, and then there's a part after this which is section 2. So there's 2 parts which will change the variance of this one. So for example, we just took the short route for part 1, but part 2, which is this, is now the long part. And it might reverse in the next one, or we might just get a full short circuit, depending. So the radar that's at the bottom left corner is to show where the next car is, your own car and the next one. You'll see the white dot there. The white dot is Dan. He's our rival, the one that's, like I said, he's the one that's rubber banding like crazy. It is just absolutely crazy. We've got Nikita coming up, which luckily we can just slide on past her, just like that. Easy peasy. Oh dear. And Takabo for the lead. It's the, like, I understand why DVD has said, oh, it's useless. Yeah, I can understand why. Kind of yes and no. Also, from the looks of it, apparently it's chaos. Speaking of like sliding your way around, it looks the same for Formula 1 as well. Only got 2 laps to go. Say that, 1 lap to go more like. Like I said, you've got part 1 and part 2 which are completely different. And we've now got the short circuit. I think this is the last part actually. Seems like this is the last part of it. Short circuit. I believe it's just short now. Put my foot down. Yeah, it is. Nice. That is like the best part of the circuit, that bit there, just doing the short part. Easy. I think that was near enough my best split as well.
Okay, you ready? Hey, come on.
We got past Dan. Now there's a gate on the left hand side which you can use on this one, and there's also the bridge. So this is where I need to keep my eyes open now, because if that bridge opens, then I need to make sure I'm ready to take it. If it's not open, I have to make sure I'm ready to take the corner at speed. So we'll see how this goes. I don't know if this is going to go well, but we shall see. We'll find out. And the result is bridge is shut. Okay. So because the bridge is shut, like I said, you have to be ready to adapt. If it happens to be open, and you can see it's open, then obviously getting to the other side of the track will be a lot easier. But if it's not, you're in deep trouble. So that's lap 1 done. I don't know what the next... Like I said, this is where things would take a turn on its head. This is where we could easily take... oh, I could have done that actually. Bloody hell. Could have actually took the shortcut then. God damn it. Never mind. It's a shame really. So you come out of that gate there that's behind me. I know you can only briefly see it, but there was a gate just behind me. Is the bridge open? Yes, it is. So like I said, you have to be very careful and make sure you're ready to go, just in case all hell breaks loose. And the gate is now shut, so I can't take that shortcut. This is the one thing you have to look out for though, as I said. Always make sure you're careful. Yeah, stock audio police sirens, exactly. Didn't quite make it. Also, the church organs are going. Apparently someone's got married. It's like, congratulations! I mean, I'm driving a Porsche Boxster, but still, congratulations. So there is actually two vans here, but they've already moved, which is good. I didn't think they both moved at the same time, but they obviously did. Which was quite convenient because I got near them. Also, thanks for a good look, Axie. You've got one more lap to go. I don't know if this gate's going to be open or not. I don't think that gate's open. So we're going to... It probably is, actually. And unfortunately, bridge was shut, but that's fine. And still got a long way around. Like I said, this is where it really makes all the difference. There we go. That's USA done. So here's the test driver who's finally appeared. Yes, the black stick has appeared. aka the Porsche test driver. And this guy is extremely quick, so you do have to be careful with him. It's just unfortunate really. So in this particular race there's gates that can open, and you've also got other stuff as well. And there's a shortcut which is only available at the end of the lap, providing it's been dug out. It's unbelievable really. So this gate here, if you take this, there you go. And that's actually a shortcut and gives you an advantage over the next car in front. Also busted singing, I'm glad I clashed the wedding with a Porsche. Yeah. I actually kind of have a fun memory with that one as well. Last band that I used to go, well, the last band that I ever watched live was Busted. So, yeah, the more you know about me there. So I have to be careful. So that particular jump at the end there is always a difficult jump to get right. I don't know why, but for some weird reason I always struggle with it. Always. It's always a tricky one. So thankfully this shortcut's actually opened twice now. That's really cool. So like I said, the last part of this race involves the gate opening. So you remember how there's like a church bell that you can hear going at the moment? You may have heard it a couple of times going ding. Yeah. That's the shortcut that needs to open. And it only opens, I believe, on the final lap only. Although I've known it to actually open one lap sooner before. So if we're very unfortunate, no, it's fine. He's not opened it yet. The last lap, it should be open. So them snowplow things have actually not dug. They haven't dug out the dug the shortcut out yet. But they'll get around to it. I'm sure they'll get around to it. They're good guys. I'm sure they'll dig it out for us because they're our friends. You only do the short circuit once. I should point that out. So we've done the shortcut with the. Now we're doing the long circuit, but we're gonna have a shortcut at the end. Oh yeah. So the doors are open, which means we can now take the shortcut. I do have to be careful with that particular shortcut because the AI likes to take it a bit quicker than us. I just need to make sure that this goes okay, which it seems to have done. Yep, it did. He's just in the background then. Just in the background. You may have just seen in the test driver. He comes flying up behind you at the end of that race. Every time. If you don't get your jumps done properly, especially on that last lap, because of the rubber banding, he can actually come right up behind you and easily just beat you and take the win. So you have to be very careful on that race. Personally, believe I've lost several races. I say several. I have lost a few runs to that particular race on its own. I say runs, I mean like not progressed any further than that race because the AI just likes the rubber band to hell. It's just mad. I also need to be careful with this as well. As I say, that ended up smashing the car up. So there is a big shortcut which is right near the end of this particular end of the race. And if you can get it, you'll go flying through like a wall or something. Like there's a bit of wall that actually opens up, like a gate of some kind. It's a bit of a weird one. It is very strange. There's also a part which you may keep seeing where on the left hand side of that track where it splits on the right. Also music's decided to play its act again. And gone, yeah, I know, let's re-enable music, yeah. Even though we don't want it to. But yeah, when you get through, when you cross the start-finish line, there's a particular part on the right-hand side, which, when you get to it, eventually, there's a particular part that you can get through. So the gate, for some weird reason, still hasn't unlocked. It's usually unlocked by now. So I don't know if it's going to unlock a lap sooner. No, it's not. Okay, it's going to unlock on the last lap, I'd hope. So that particular shortcut, 9 times out of 10 opens on the very last... what's it called? The very last... very last lap. But it can sometimes open on lap 2 or even lap 3. Here's a fun fact. So the debris for this particular part of the track is also random. Sometimes it'll be like that, other times it won't be. So you do have to be careful there as well. So I believe, yep, the gate's open. Cool stuff, which means I can now take this shortcut. That's what I said when it's like a gate or something that just opens up for no reason. One more lap to go, so time is going to be coming up very shortly, and it's going to be when we cross the line. So in probably like a minute from now. Say a minute from now, it might be a bit less than that, might be like 40 seconds from now. Yeah, a bit of Japanese in the background, which was from the gate. Yeah, so I thought that the shortcuts were the same every time, but it turns out they're completely randomised every time you do the run. So you might get really good shortcuts on one and really bad ones on another. The shortcuts aren't set to like, oh yeah, you only get this shortcut twice and you only get this shortcut once, sort of thing. It is genuinely whatever the game feels like throwing at you. Supposedly the games are all run at the same race distance, but I don't think they are. I think they're all different. Also, time is coming up, and time. Blimey. And that's it. That is the run.
Thank you very much for running that. Final time of mine actually was very, very close to yours. It was only 0.17 seconds difference, really, but I got 58.34 on my end.
That's no problem.
So yeah, very good run. Quite enjoyable as well. Nice, whatchamacallit, nice racing and stuff like that. So thank you very much for taking part.
No, it's no problem.
Thank you very much. So everybody, as we've been mentioning during the stream, we are doing this as a charity event for Everyone Can. Our goal by the end of today is to reach £300. We're at £114 and 11 pence so far. So if we can get to £300 by the end of today, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Please help us smash that. We've got 3 runs left for today. The next run is actually Unravel 2 any percent co-op. So we're looking forward to seeing that one. That'll be happening after the interval in about 10 minutes time. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for all the donations. And thank you to the BPG13 for the run today. Do you have any final comments you'd like to make?
Just one final thing, which is that thank you to all of those that have watched today and that have watched today, and hopefully it turns out to be a really good rest of the marathon. But yeah, if you're ever interested in running this game or learning it, you can always catch me on Discord. I do have a Twitter account, but Discord's probably the best place to reach me since I'm on there pretty much every day. And I don't believe we have a Discord of sorts, but you can find this game. It's usually quite cheap to get hold of if you have a PS2 or PS1 even. And like I said, it's fairly straightforward as a run. It's just the only downside being that you obviously have to learn the game, as you might have guessed with a racing game. But yeah, it's like I said, fairly easy, and would definitely recommend giving it a try. Even if racing games aren't your thing, it's just something to kind of get you into, and and something it might even kickstart you get into racing games. I don't know, but you never know.
Well, no, exactly. You never know until you try it. But thank you very much for the run. We're going to go now over to the interval, and then we'll be going over to Unravel 2. So thank you very much, Viper, for the run, and we'll hopefully see you again soon.